Hello and welcome to Ryan J Reviews Live. I'm thrilled that you're joining me today, and I'm excited because if you've been following me at all recently on social media, on the Morning Blend, you know that after 30 years, since I was last time I was a teenager, I've returned to musical theater, performing for my first time. So I'm very excited about that. I wanted to tell you why. I'm going to be playing Max Detweiler in The Sound of Music with Forte Theatre Company. They're the only professional theater company south of Milwaukee in Wisconsin, and it's your chance. I'm inviting you to come and review me, right? I'm going to sing, which I'm actually excited about. I've been working with Natalie Ford, who's a great voice teacher, and I'm proud of my progress so far. So I can't promise anything there, but the other singers in the show are fantastic. So let me tell you about the show, and I also want to introduce you to who we're going to be talking with today. But first, I got to tell you that the show is going to be only 6 performances. It's October 7th through the 16th at the Saber Center for the Performing Arts in Franklin, Wisconsin. It's just down the road from the IKEA in Oak Creek. You've all driven there. Tickets are so affordable, from $20 to $30. They're available now at fortetheatrecompany.org. Forte Theatre Company is incredible, and the work they're doing is incredible. We're going to dive into that. And I really wanted to tell you a little bit about why I chose this time to make the return to go out for this show. And it's really because I adore the team behind it. So Randall Dodge is the co-founder and artistic director at Forte, and Brenda Dodge is the company's co-founder and executive director. But they don't just look like a movie star power couple. They are theater stars in their own right, not only in performance, but they produce, direct, create, you name it in the arts, they've done it. And the Milwaukee community is all the better for them having chosen to move here and create what they're creating here. It's incredible. And I would just really love to welcome Randall and Brenda and Randall to the show. Thanks.
Oh my goodness. Quite an introduction. Thanks for having us, Ryan.
Thank you. I'm so glad. I'm so glad to see you guys. And, before we get into the sound of music, you can see my office. I'm in my office, and I mean, my whole condo is Wizard of Oz, but my office is kind of encroaching with the Wizard of Oz. And Randall, you did play the lion in a production. So can I just get a quick put him up?
Yeah, well, that show was remarkable. I had no idea what I was doing, and I think I told you this, that I had actually never seen the film before doing the show. I was asked to do a concert, and I was asked to sing King of the Forest. And as an actor, you're like, oh, yes, please. Yeah, I'll do it. Sure. And I had no idea what I was doing. But I ended up watching the film with my children for the first time and just fell in love with it. And yeah, the rest is history. Put 'em up.
Oh, I love it.
It was License to Kill on stage. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you for doing that on demand for me. And Brenda, so you don't feel left out, I have to ask you, what's your favorite line from any show or musical?
Any line from any?
Yeah, is there a line that resonates with you or that you like?
Oh, Singing in the Rain is one of my favorite musicals and movie musicals. And so we showed it to the kids. Our kids are in middle school now, and we showed it to the kids a couple of months ago, and they just loved it. And so now we always do that part, where the sound gets off the track and she goes, no, yes, yes, yes. No. All the time.
So good. Thank you. Okay, I just love to put performers on the spot a little bit, So that was really fun. Thank you. So Forte Theatre Company, why did you guys choose to create it here in the community?
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. You go. So we moved to the Milwaukee area from the West Coast about 5 years ago, and had both been working as professional actors in the West Coast. We had worked in Chicago, and when we moved here to be close to our family, we realized, there's such great professional theater downtown Milwaukee, and but when you go to a major city like Chicago, there's also a lot of offerings in the suburbs as well. In Chicago, we've got the Marriott and Drury Lane, and we moved to Milwaukee and just sort of realized that there wasn't a lot of that, especially in the southwest suburbs where we live. And so we wanted to start Forte Theatre Company and see if we could build an audience, not only with, to add to the voices that are already creating stellar theater downtown Milwaukee, but in the suburbs as well.
Absolutely. And it's incredible. And the work you've done already has been fantastic. And what you're continuing to do is really amazing. And you met in the theater, right? Is the theater that brought you together? What was the show?
The Pirates of Penzance.
Oh,
Oh, there it is. Oh dear.
Nice.
I went for a subtle eye makeup look on that.
I feel like you could have your own YouTube makeup channel after seeing some of the
Oh,
makeup
dear.
you've had in your career.
What that picture doesn't tell you is that it was a huge outdoor amphitheater in Vista, California, the Moonlight Amphitheater, one of our favorite theaters in the country. Is just they do beautiful work out there, but it's a big, big outdoor space. So you had to
Expressive eyes were very important. Yeah. That chest hair is real, though.
Oh, yeah? Let's see
Yeah.
that. There you go. Excellent. GTK, good to know. Not TMI. So wait, Randall and Brenda, you've both done the show before, right? When in one of the productions, I know Randall, you've done it twice before. Brenda, were you just in The Sound of Music once?
Mhm.
Okay. And Brenda, then it was in the time that you did it with Randall that you guys got engaged, correct?
Mhm.
Tell me the story. Tell me the engagement story.
Oh, well, we met doing the Pirates of Penzance. We were back at the Moonlight Stage Productions doing The Sound of Music, and that was around when we got engaged. But what was so funny about that, we got engaged at a restaurant that on Coronado Island, and it was just lovely. But when we were also doing the show at the time, but I was playing one of the nuns, and he was playing Captain Von Trapp. So it was just so much fun to like celebrate with the cast. But what was funny was that the kids playing the Von Trapp children in the show could not, like, they couldn't wrap their brains around it. They were like, why is Captain Von Trapp hanging out? Like, why is he marrying a nun? They just couldn't. It was pretty great.
That's brilliant. I mean, the kids in the show that we're putting together now is just amazing. They're so good, so good. We'll get to them in a sec. But Randall, I'm curious. You've done the show a couple times, so knowing it so well, does that make it easier or harder to cast the show when you were casting it?
Well, a show like this, it has so many roles, is going to be difficult to cast any way you look at it. The children blink and they've grown 2 inches, so I can't imagine the trauma that Broadway went through to keep Annie's going, but we cast, quite a few months ago, and they've all just risen to the occasion. But doing the show now, after I've done it a couple of times, it's actually quite a marvelous experience, because now I have much more grown children. The last time I did it, my kids were very, very young babies, but now that they have
the second time you did it,
right, the second time,
First
yeah,
time
not
you
the
did it.
first time. But now, being a father and understanding that role and understanding the whole family dynamic now, and seeing the role from an outward eye it's fascinating, and it's so much fun to work with all of these people, and especially you and Sarah and Matt and the entire group. But it has given me a new perspective on the show, and so many classic stories are about that generational family unit that you watch this with your children, and then they watch it with their children, and so on and so on. And the show just resonates so much to the joy and the necessity of that family contact, and knowing that you're a unit, and it's just marvelous.
It's so true. I mean, The Sound of Music, I remember seeing it as a child. One thing I've never shared before is that it's how I learned to sing. My grandmother, it was my grandmother's favorite movie. And I have an older brother and 2 cousins. So it was kind of a small family of kids. And she would get us together, and she pretended she was Maria, and she used the song Do Re Mi to teach us how to sing when we were all very young. And then we would put on a show for the rest of the family. And it was always her favorite movie. So my heart, I'm sort of dedicating the opportunity to be in this show to her. And I want to thank you guys for that opportunity.
That's marvelous.
So she kind of always represented that to me. It really is something that, kids love it because they see kids in it. And, that there's some serious tones, and they can tell tonally what's going on. I think of it also like the movie Grease, rather. My parents let me watch that way too young. But I didn't get any of it, but, as you learn, as you grow up, you get more out of things as you revisit them. And The Sound of Music is certainly something like that, where it's not inappropriate to watch as a young child, unlike Grease, right? But
Sure.
it's something that as you mature yourself and learn about world history and the rest of it, it hits you in different ways. And when I revisited the film or saw the show on its most recent Broadway run, it hits you so differently. And I just love how powerful it is in so many ways. And you've cast it so brilliantly. We have to talk about Sarah Zapian, who is a powerhouse singer. She's so great as Maria. And we've got a clip of her singing her opening song.
The hills are alive with the sound of music, with songs they have sung for 1,000 years. The hills fill my heart with the sound of music. My heart wants to sing every song it hears.
Sarah, I know you're a big fan of Sarah's. You cast her last season in your production of Little Women. When I asked her at one of our early rehearsals for The Sound of Music which character she related to better personally, Joe or Maria, she said totally Joe. You wouldn't know it watching her play Maria, I gotta tell you. Randall, what was it that you saw in Sarah that you knew she'd be perfect for this role?
Sarah's like this. She's a gift. She walked in, and we're so blessed to have her involved at all. It's shocking that she's actually available. To be honest, no, her talent is immense, but she is such a smart performer. She gets tone. She gets chemistry. I think one of the techniques that I don't think they teach enough is teaching young actors how to build chemistry with complete strangers. And you have to kind of be a very trusting and brave person to do that, especially in the audition process. But it becomes very clear quite rapidly those that can do that, that can let that wall down and be vulnerable in a moment's notice. And yet she's still a bit of an enigma off stage. I know very little about Sarah Zapian, but she is such a cool, funny, smart young lady. She's, like I said, it's remarkable that she was available, that we could get her.
Absolutely. And her co-star is Matt Specht, and he as Captain Von Trapp. You're talking about the chemistry and watching it build throughout the rehearsal process as they both grow into and evolve into their character arcs is really phenomenal. I love how quickly they were able to pick up that dance. The Ländler that they do in the show is amazing. We have a clip of them singing a duet as well.
Edelweiss, Edelweiss, every morning you greet me, small and white, clean and bright, bless my homeland forever.
Matt's a really funny guy, and he's very cool. And you played Captain Von Trapp. So how I gotta imagine, I can't imagine. I mean, I know what it's like as you're directing me and Matt as Max and seeing you work with other characters. But how do you stop yourself from looking at Matt playing a role that you've played twice before and saying just to do it the way that you did it, or give him line readings? Is that really hard?
It's not hard at all because Matt is such a brilliant actor. He is such a hard worker. I met Matt when we cast The Fantastics, which was the show we were working on when COVID hit, and we ended up having to shut down. We cast Matt as one of the fathers in The Fantastics. And so I knew he was musical. I knew he could sing, and I knew he was just a handsome man. But he's very powerful on stage. He's got so much gravitas in him, and he has a way of having an inner strength that is walled up in a big way. But I think that's kind of part of who Matt is too. And so he's kind of playing to his strengths right now. But again, he came in from day one and made the conscious decision to connect with those kids. when we weren't even rehearsing. He came in, and that's another technique that real pros have, is an overall understanding of how they're being perceived, even by the cast. So the audience is going to pick up a chemistry, they're going to pick up a performance, and they're going to read that performance as truthful or not. But I think it starts with connecting as actors, connecting as people with the actors you're going to be working with. And Matt came in right away and had this rapport with the kids that set a tone right away. And it put all the kids in a trust and in a joyful place where they can work and feel like they can count on him to not let them fall. And
Yeah.
I'm blown away by Matt's work ethic. It's a huge role. It's a lot to do, and it's tricky as all get out.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, and it is great. You're right. The adoration that he shares with the children is fantastic, and Sarah as well. And these kids, and Brenda, you know some of these kids as well, right? Haven't some of them appeared in youth productions that Forte does?
Yep. Yes, we have had the chance to work with just about all of them in the past. We have Forte Youth Productions does 2 different youth musicals every year, in addition to our professional main stage. And so many of them have performed with us before, and we love them. We had open auditions, and so it was very much an open opportunity for anyone who wanted to come in and audition. But we're very much trying to train up that next generation of actors. One of our mission and goals of our education program is to get them working and learning alongside of professionals. And so it's so cool to see that come to fruition in this show.
Yeah, mentoring is a big deal.
Absolutely.
I'm old school from the old school of going and apprenticing to get that work experience before the universities were attached to LORT theaters in this country. That's how professionals got their card. You went and you worked as an apprentice, you worked your way up, and you learned from real pros, and you earned that stage time. And so I'm a strong believer that having people on stage, and those young ladies that you just showed in that picture, little Gretel and Marta, and
Gemma,
yeah, I mean they're all just marvelous children. But then they have actors like Sarah. They have actors like our mother abbess, Kathy Pyatt, who is just incredible. Again,
we're going to talk about her. We're going to talk about her. But before we move off from the kids, let's check them out singing.
When you know the notes to sing, you can sing most anything. Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things.
Oh, that's so good. Randall, one of the things I love about how you're putting the show together is you've really brilliantly crafted it in ways that the beats are so powerful every time, and there's so much levity. And then when it gets dramatic, it's so dramatic, and the laughs they break the dramatic tension so well. And when it really comes alive when the kids show up with Joe Raimi, I mean, I can't believe I get the chills every time. I mean, we all know the movie. I've seen the show on Broadway. I've seen the national tour, of course, The Sound of Music live, which I'd partly like to forget that I've seen. But there's moments in this show that I never appreciated in any of the productions I've ever seen before. And they're becoming like my favorite parts of the show now because of what you're doing with it in such an inventive, brilliant way. So I just want to compliment you about that. And I want to let anyone that's watching live right now know that we're live. And if you want to leave comments or ask Randall or Brenda any questions, feel free to do so. We'll be able to see it. Some of the kids that are standouts also from your youth programs, Emma Hipp and Brandon Engel as Liesel and Rolf. They're fantastic. Their numbers fantastic. Talk about chemistry there. I mean, it's like all the adults are responding during their number because I think we're all going through oh my God, that's exactly what it was like back then. They're so good at that. Tell me about these guys.
The fun thing about Brandon and Emma is that we were introduced to them in our youth production of Annie last spring. And Brandon played Warbucks and Emma played Miss Hannigan.
Mm,
So they've already done a youth production together, playing very different types of roles. So it's fun to see them together now in The Sound of Music.
absolutely. And
Again,
then
workers.
oh yes. And
Right.
then yeah.
No, I was just going to say that Brandon is quite an extraordinary young man. He has a desire to learn how to do this, but learn to do it the right way. He came in with no ego. Such a handsome young man, and he has a wonderful amount of raw talent. But what he really has is a work ethic. So it's like, even if you're not getting cast in the lead, keep trying, keep working. Don't just expect it to come. And I didn't say this to him. I'm just saying that to the general audience.
Sure.
Kids like Brandon they have a desire to want to do this, and so he listens, he talks, he asks questions. He doesn't just sit back and wonder. So he's actively involved, and he's actively trying to get better every day. And the growth that we've seen from where he was as Daddy Warbucks, which was wonderful, but now he's playing Rolf, a really complicated character, and he is just nailing it.
Mhm.
I couldn't be more proud of him and Emma and all of the kids. They're all marvelous.
Right. We've got Andy who's watching live. Hi, Andy. And she's asking, Randall, what has been your biggest reward and challenge with The Sound of Music?
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, we're a mom and pop.
Quite literally.
We are the co-founders, but we also pretty much do everything. So we do, and not just production wise, we do all the budgeting. We're also on the board of directors for Forte Theatre Company. We do fundraising, we do marketing, we have to find all the people. We're human resources, we're everything. And so a show of this size and this scale, we thought we were ready for something like this a while ago, and there is no way we're ready now. But this has been a huge undertaking, and the team that we've assembled and the people that we've worked with to this point have got us here. We're standing on the shoulders of so many.
Our board, our volunteers, our the production staff and crew, just amazing. Not to mention the cast. It takes a village.
It really does. I mean, I sometimes feel I'm not worthy. Here I am with my scene partner much of the time. This is Maya Danks, who plays Baroness Elsa Schrader. And she's so good. I just love working with her. She makes me laugh. I mean, she does everything with that role, which can sometimes just be a boring or forgotten role or not a favorite. She makes the most of every moment, doesn't she?
She's phenomenal. Her vulnerability, and that was something that I learned over doing multiple productions of the show as an actor. That character, I think that it's much more interesting when she is a real viable option for Captain Von Trapp, not just some distraction or some woman that he's supposed to be with. No, this is a real vivacious, lovable woman that deserves somebody like him and deserves to have that family. And yet it's because of that love connection that Captain Von Trapp ultimately finds in Maria, that even he has to struggle with. Well, why can't Elsa be it? Why isn't that? And Maya has found, like you've said, she's found every nuance and so much likability and so vulnerable. And I think a lot of people are going to have a great time watching her work.
Yes. Amen. And pun intended, because the nuns in this show are so fantastic. In our first rehearsal meeting, you were talking about how powerful the nuns' songs are. And I was always kind of like, not into that music. And something about being in the room with these ladies that you've assembled for our nuns. First of all, they are funnier than I've ever seen the nuns in this show ever played, and appropriately so. Like, the lines, they're there. I guess they've just never been highlighted as well as this team is doing it. And then their voices collectively, it's like you don't know if you're gonna cry or if you're gonna wet yourself. You know what I mean? It's like, or maybe all of the above all at once. Every time they sing, they're so fantastic, so much talent, led, of course, by Kathy Pyatt, who you mentioned earlier, who is, I just have where did you find this woman? I feel like lightning might strike me down right now because Audra McDonald, who's the Meryl Streep of Broadway, winning more Tony Awards than anyone, played the role in Sound of Music Live. Kathy's better. I mean, and I'm waiting for the
Agreed.
lightning. But like, where did you find her?
She walked in the door.
Mm.
She walked in
Very
the
lucky.
door. She heard about the auditions and she came in, and we were so lucky that she did. And she's the kind of caliber performer that one would think you'd have to go and court her to bring her to us. But luckily, somehow, at this point in her career, I think she's kind of reinventing her third act, if you will. And that lady has chops for days. And I can't say it enough, but we're so blessed to have her. But I mean, Kathy brings so much humanity to that role. And I think the main message I wanted to get to all of the sisters is that these are real people. They're not just servants of the church or, brides of Christ. These are women that have politics involved in their pecking order. These are women that have likes and dislikes. They have pains just like everybody else, and they're not just happy villagers either. So they're allowed to bring that personality to the table. And I think that's what makes it a much more human, interesting story than just having, 12 women out there singing their faces off angelically is one thing. But then to have the caliber of talent that each one of them possesses is beyond my expectation. That's for sure. So
It is. I mean, I've said it again. I'm transparent as a critic, and I'm wearing that hat right now. And I never really appreciated the song "Climb Every Mountain." That was the one I could tune out. But I will not, in rehearsal, or I guarantee you, even the performances. I'm not in the scene. I will be in the wings. I will not miss the opportunity to hear Kathy sing the song. Like that moment alone in the show is worth the price of admission. Just to see Kathy sing that. I mean, not to take away from the entirety of what the show is, because it's amazing, and I'm so humbled to be a part of it. It's been like a real wake-up call for me to be a part of this talent and this team, this cast. But Kathy's moment, I mean, I want to see her do a concert someday, or she should come and do a cabaret for Forte or something. She's it, with most shows, most huge shows, if you think about them, you think about Phantom, Cats, Wicked, Chicago, Les Mis. They've got one, maybe two, sometimes three hit songs that just, everybody knows Memory from Cats. Everybody loves On My Own from Les Mis, right? This one, as you look at it, and I think about it, and particularly with the two songs that I begged you to let me sing, every song in the show, everyone knows. Every single song. It's amazing.
It is.
They're iconic.
Well, and that leads me to you. I know we've talked about so many of the other wonderfully talented people that are involved, but finding you and seeing the connection that you've been able to make with Max has been, to be totally honest, it has taken a workload off of my shoulders, and you have brought so much to it. And gratefully, we have those songs back in the show that help tell the story, that help propel us through this and give us more context. And again, let's just care more about these two human beings instead of them just being sort of one-dimensional. The other woman and Max being the greedy talent guy. There's so much more there, and you've brought so much. And I see how hard you're working too. You've got a lot on, a lot at stake here. Review the reviewer, which is a brilliant idea. But you are so wonderful on stage because you're so trusting. You've been away from it for a really long time, and I get that. But your instincts are right on the money with how you're presenting Max to the audience and how you share his vulnerability with everybody, and of course his ambition. He's an ambitious guy.
He's a funny role. He's very, very funny.
Yeah. But you've also been able to find that human life and death quality. I think we've hit that drum quite a few times through the rehearsal process with all of them. These are life and death choices that they were making in a very tumultuous world. you
Mm.
know, unlike today where we're very calm and it's not tumultuous, you know. So
Yeah.
these are universal terms. So when you were talking about the kids, you know, and having the kids being involved in a show that has such serious undertones, that's today. That's today. It's right now. When
Hmm.
someone go to school, are they safe? You know, it's a very different world that our kids are growing up in. And I just love shows like this that remind us that we're all just humans. We're all just trying
Hmm.
to get through this.
Mm. You know, one thing before we move on, from me, the how disappointed do you think people who have seen the movie and their favorite song is "The Lonely Goatherd" are going to come to the show and then hear me sing it?
Well, you know, we did make some changes. That
Yeah.
when you get the rights for the show, that the rights holder allows you to put the material in that was written for the movie. This was the Sound of Music was the last collaboration between Rogers and Hammerstein, and Oscar Hammerstein passed away. So Richard Rogers wrote some new songs for the movie. So something good is in the film, and it's such a marvelous number that we decided to place it into our show, which is allowable by the rights holder. But we've also made a number of other changes that were allowed, that sort of mimic more the flow and the storytelling of the film. And I think, you know, it's interesting because Broadway was really where everybody came from. So you'd see something on stage and then they would make a movie musical of it, you know, and all those actors were all stage actors, and then they'd put them into plays. You know, Christopher Plummer was he was a huge stage actor, and Julie Andrews and all these people. But now it's kind of reversed, where it's like, you know, we have Mean Girls the musical and Bring It On the musical, you know. So now you have the film first, and then you have a Broadway musical. So most people that are familiar with this show, I would venture to say, haven't even seen it on stage yet. They've seen the film, and so we wanted to try and give them that same type of experience that the film has become so loved for.
Absolutely. And the space, phenomenal. We are at the Saber Center for the Performing Arts in Franklin, Wisconsin. It's just down the road from the IKEA in Oak Creek and recently renovated, multi-million dollar, and it's going to be like a Broadway show. I mean, the scene changes are so quick. It's all fly space and going to happen so quickly. I'm really excited about this stage. Brenda, you've already worked in this space, right?
Yes, our youth productions are produced there, as of this past season. So we just did a production of Frozen this past summer there, where we had a cast of 42 students ages 10 to 18, and they represented 18 different schools from throughout the greater Milwaukee area, everywhere from Shorewood down to Kenosha and everywhere in between, all the way out to Muskego. And so that's a wonderful thing about our youth productions, that they're really bringing kids from all over the place, which is really cool. But so yeah, we started producing our youth stuff there, and then through this partnership with Franklin Public Schools and Brad Anderson and Tracy Stewart at the Saber Center, they've just been wonderful advocates for bringing professional theater to the suburbs. And so yeah, this will be our first main stage production at the Saber Center, and it actually isn't. If I can just say, it's not recently renovated, it's recently built. It was created like a year or two before we moved here. So it hasn't been open for very long. And we're excited to be bringing professional theater to it.
Yeah, it's state of the art. I mean, just it's powerful and it's big and it's beautiful and it's so comfortable. But as great as it is, you are looking to eventually grow into your own theater, correct?
Yes, that is the goal. That's what we're hoping for. We love our partnership with the Saber Center, and we just eventually have the goal of having our own space so that we can be having our own rehearsal space and expand our season. Right now, you know, there are district priorities for what is being produced in the Saber Center, and so we are hoping to eventually be able to produce more shows throughout the year, and we can't necessarily do that with where we are right now.
And I love so much of what you're doing too with all of the fundraising. Congratulations on reaching your fundraising goal for Forte Theatre Company this year. But a portion of everything that you receive as a nonprofit organization yourself, you are then in turn donating to charity. Which charity does that go to?
So this is a new initiative that we just launched this past week. We are very grateful to our board for helping us with this, and our fundraising chair in particular. But we are partnering with Kids Matter Inc., and we are starting a new initiative called Fostering a Love for Theater. And it is 10% of every season sponsorship that comes into Forte Theatre Company will be given to foster families in need who might not otherwise have access to professional arts opportunities. And so it's essentially allowing these families to come in and sign up for free tickets. They get to come in and see the show for free. It's all in partnership with Kids Matter Inc. We have a link on our website that gives you more information under our support tab. So take a look at that. But we're really excited about that.
That's incredible. And I think it really speaks to the heart of who you are as a couple, as a family, who you are as artists in the community, giving back. And I just couldn't appreciate the pair of you more than I do. Thank you so much. I hope everyone will come out and see this show and support Forte Theater and see this incredible entertaining experience. Again, it's going to be October 7th through the 16th. And it's at the Saber Center for the Performing Arts in Franklin, Wisconsin. Tickets are available right now at fortetheatrecompany.org. Thank you so much to Brenda and Randall. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for the opportunity. Do we have 2 quick seconds? I just want to ask you a question.
Oh,
What has been your favorite thing about being in the show? I know it's been quite an experience for you. What's one of your favorite things?
honestly, I have 2 parts. First of all, making new friends. You know, I've missed like being a part of that theater community where that cast experience where you develop new friends, and I've made some new friends that I feel like, will be friends forever. The pair of you hopefully included. And honestly, watching Randall as a director, I got to see his 2 performances in Wisconsin as Hook in Peter Pan, at Fireside, and then as Judge Turpin at Skylight in Sweeney Todd. And both times have been so impressed and blown away, almost intimidated. But watching you work as a director, I've learned so much. I've never had the experience as an adult performer before. I've never gotten to play an age appropriate role before. And just personally what I've gained, but watching you work with everyone has been such an education. I think I told you at a rehearsal, it's like I felt like I should pay you for a master class because I'm learning so much from you. So honestly, that's really what I'm taking away from this, is just how awestruck I am by your talent in action as a director, but also just the new friendships forming. And then the show, I can't wait to open. I mean, we've only got 6 performances. So I think people are, it's kind of like, I remember telling friends about Wicked when I saw it in previews before it opened. And I felt like I could not oversell it because I knew once they sat in the seat, they're going to just love the show. And I don't think I've ever met anyone who walked away from Wicked and said I didn't like it. I feel that strongly about this show. And honestly, it's not because I'm in it. I'm talking now as I just sit back and watch, the scenes that I'm not in, and this cast again that you put together in this space. We've got something special, the right people at the right time in the right place, and it's going to be a spectacular show. So again, thank you to Randall and Brenda, and the show is October 7th through the 9th that weekend, also the 14th through the 16th. Tickets are available now at fortetheatrecompany.org.